Do you remember when you were a child? You were curious about everything. You asked why the sky was blue, why people cried, why ants walked in a line. You didn't care if your question sounded silly. You just wanted to know. And back then, your only source of truth was the people around you, parents, teachers, older siblings. That meant your answers were limited, but you kept asking anyway. But something changed. As you got older, you started asking less, partly because answers seemed easier to find, everywhere. Partly because you stopped waiting for them. And slowly, without realizing it, most of us just stopped asking. And that's a problem. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why we lost the habit of asking and how relearning it can sharpen your thinking, unlock your creativity, and reconnect you to what really matters. Here's the truth they never put on the report card. School doesn't teach you to think. It teaches you to answer. You start off full of questions, but that fades. Not because you stop being curious, but because you start learning that the right answer matters more than the right question. Raise your hand with something bold, weird, or different. You risk looking dumb. Repeat what's in the textbook? You get an A. Slowly, curiosity gets traded for compliance. Not because kids lose their wonder, but because the system doesn't reward it. And this isn't about blaming teachers. Most of them are doing their best inside a broken model. But the result is the same. We learn to memorize, not to explore. If we want real learning, deep, powerful, lifelong learning, we need classrooms, teams, and environments that reward questions, not just answers. Because the question is where real thinking begins. 1. When you don't ask, you risk accepting the wrong answers. We live in a world drowning in answers, advice, tutorials, step-by-step guides. Every scroll, every click, someone's telling you what to do, how to think, who to be. And it all sounds convincing. It looks like the answer. It feels like clarity. But here's the trap. If you never ask your own questions, you won't know which answers are actually meant for you. You'll follow productivity hacks that make you more efficient at doing things you never wanted to do. You'll chase careers, habits, or lifestyles that look right on paper but leave you feeling empty. Solving problems that aren't yours. Chasing goals that don't make you feel anything. Because without a question, there's no filter. No way to separate wisdom from noise. No way to tell if the solution fits your problem or someone else's. And that's the risk. In a world obsessed with giving answers, you can spend years following the wrong ones, wasting time, energy, even identity. Not because you lacked information, but because you never paused to ask what you actually needed to know. Asking isn't just how you learn. It's how you protect yourself from a world that's always ready to tell you what to think, whether it's right for you or not. 2. The right question unlocks hidden truths. In both life and business, we're often taught to chase answers, quick ones, smart ones, final ones, but answers are easy to collect. Real breakthroughs come from the question behind them, because when you ask the wrong question, even with the best answer, you still miss the truth. Here's the catch. Answers can only take you as far as the question allows. If the question is shallow, the answer can't go deep. If the question is off base, even the most brilliant answer leads you in the wrong direction. This is why the right question is often more valuable than the right answer. Because a powerful question doesn't just point to a solution, it opens up entirely new terrain. It reshapes the way you see the problem in the first place. It doesn't just help you understand more, it helps you understand differently. It breaks through assumptions. It reveals what's been hidden in plain sight. And often, it leads you to answers you didn't expect, but needed to hear. Ask a better question, and the whole context shifts. You uncover information you weren't looking for. You notice patterns you'd ignored. You realize the issue isn't what you thought it was. And here's the part we forget. Sometimes the question that changes everything doesn't sound smart. It sounds basic, obvious, even a little silly. But those are the ones that sneak past your defenses, the ones that break the loop, the ones that start something new. Good questions lead to better thinking. They give you new angles, fresh insights, and unexpected clarity. They help you challenge what you've been told, and even what you've always believed. If that hit something in you, subscribe to the channel. We're just getting started. Third, questions build critical thinking. Asking questions isn't just about curiosity, it's about doubt. And doubt, real, honest, uncomfortable doubt, is where critical thinking begins. When you ask a question, you interrupt the flow. You stop the automatic yes, the easy agreement, the mental shortcut. You challenge the default. But modern life doesn't reward that. It rewards harmony. We surround ourselves with people who think like us. We follow voices that confirm what we already believe. It feels good. It feels safe. But it quietly dulls our thinking. Without questions, we absorb more than we examine. We become echoes instead of editors. And soon, the beliefs you hold aren't even yours. The right question gives you space to pause, to notice your own thoughts, to ask, do I really believe this? Where did this idea come from? Who benefits if I don't question it? Critical thinking isn't about being skeptical of everything. It's about knowing how to separate noise from insight. And without questions, that filter doesn't exist. When you ask questions, you don't just gain information, you reclaim your ability to think for yourself and define your own truth. 4. Questions help you solve problems and grow. When you're caught in a wave of frustration, anxiety, or doubt, it's easy to shut down, to sit in the heaviness, to let it take over. But the moment you pause and ask a question, everything begins to shift. Not a big, perfect question, just something honest. What exactly am I feeling right now? Where is this coming from? What would make this feel 1% better? That one move, asking instead of absorbing, turns a passive emotion into an active process. It gives shape to what felt overwhelming. It makes the problem something you can work with, not just feel buried by. Good questions break down big, tangled problems into steps you can actually move on. They shift your brain out of panic and into problem solving. Not because you suddenly know everything, but because you've pointed your focus at the right target. And sometimes, most of the answers you're searching for, they're already inside you, buried in your experiences, shaped by your thoughts, formed quietly over time, but they've been drowned out by noise, by pressure, by the constant input from everyone but yourself. And when you're surrounded by all that, even your own wisdom gets hard to hear. That's why self-questioning is essential. It cuts through the noise. It's how you clear space in the mental clutter. It's how you stop scrolling past your own wisdom and start listening to it. It brings your attention back to you, because every time you ask a real, honest question active, you give yourself a chance to grow, to understand, to take ownership of the answer that was in you all along. 5. Questions spark creativity and innovation. Every creative leap, every breakthrough idea starts with a question, not a polished one, not a safe one, but the kind that pokes at what everyone knows, the kind that sounds a little reckless. What if we did the opposite? What if the rule is wrong? What would this look like if we weren't afraid to fail? Asking is an act of creation. It breaks you out of patterns. It disrupts the script you didn't know you were following. And in that space, after the question, before the answer, something new can emerge. Most people wait for inspiration, but creators, they ask, they press, they produced. Even if the question sounds dumb at first, they're the ones that bypass ego and challenge assumptions. They force you to see the edges, like, what if I had to reach my goal, but could only work 2 hours a day? That question isn't practical, but it's meant to open a door no one's looked at yet. If you want new ideas, stop reaching for better answers. Start by asking better, bolder, stranger questions. 6 questions help us communicate and connect. If you want to connect with someone, really connect, don't start with statements. Start with a question, not small talk, not surface-level stuff. A question that shows you actually care what's on the other side, because asking is how you say, I'm listening, I'm curious, you matter. It's one of the simplest ways to build trust, and one of the most overlooked, especially in a world where everyone's waiting for their turn to speak. Open-ended questions pull people in. They invite someone to share more than just facts. They open space for meaning, nuance, emotion, and that's where real relationships happen. In teams, thoughtful questions make collaboration smoother. In conflict, they dissolve assumptions. In leadership, they guide conversations without needing to dominate them. Even in negotiation, the person asking the right questions often has more influence than the one trying hardest to sound convincing. Because people don't open up when they feel understood. They open up when they feel seen. And that starts, not with advice or opinion, but with a question that makes room for who they are. When you learn to ask the right questions, you think more clearly, solve problems faster, grow more deeply, create boldly, and connect more honestly with the people around you. That's the power of a good question. Thanks for watching. If this sparked something in you, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments. What's one question you're taking with you after this video?